Craig, I appreciate you making time.
Oh, my pleasure. Here in the middle of a hurricane of the century.
That was the first thing I was going to say before we get anywhere. I mean, literally a hurricane coming through Southern California. How are you doing?
Well, the media really played this up to be the hurricane with floods. And listen, I made a career out of exaggerating my inches. So apparently that's what's been done here.
Well, as a resident of Florida, of course, thoughts go out to you guys. And yes, we get used to it a lot over here where there's a lot of talk before the storm comes through. And then you kind of ignore it when it comes through. Now, last year we got hit hard after thinking it wasn't going to be anything. So you just never know, right?
You never know. And now I know where all my batteries are. I know where every flashlight is in the house. So it's great. I got I pulled out a prep kit I didn't even know I had. We were ready. I had my little transistor radio. By the way, there are no radio stations available, so I don't know what good that does. So I was way more ready than I've ever been for anything. And basically, it was a nothing burger. So what are you going to do? I now know where everything is. So it was a chance. I think it was a chance for people that have clutter, hoarders, to organize themselves. So there you go. That's what it was. That's what it was meant to be.
Well, I was going to say, now you get to look forward to putting everything away again. So that's the good part. He's all organized to put it back away.
If only that were false. I have everything all over the place. My kids, we're all hunkered down, ready to go. We're going to actually tell stories to one another. I had all these things planned by candlelight, like Abe Lincoln was ready to roll, but nothing. One little flicker of power, and I didn't even feel the earthquake. So disappointed.
Yeah. Well, now between stand-up comedy, movies, TV, Netflix, and Amazon, now it's over 4 decades in the business. But growing up in the 70s, Craig Shoemaker, what are your first memories of show business?
Actually, I was a product of a single mom. Well, she had to do something. But I had a dad at one time, but he left when I was born. Something I said, wah, and he was gone. But my whole goal was, when I would watch television, was just look for fathers and look for husbands for my mother. That was my entire goal. So anything I would watch. And my mom always got a kick out of Paul Lynde. He was the center square. Yeah. Uncle Arthur on Bewitched, come out of a toaster. I love this guy. My mom loved him. I'm going, perfect stepdad, perfect husband. And I wrote him letters. Dear Mr. Lynde, I heard you're a confirmed bachelor. Meet my mother. You'll unconfirm in a minute. So,
wow.
And I said, does Toady Fields really have a wooden leg? How do you get in those squares? I was so fascinated with this. I was a little kid, and that's how you think when you're a kid. You just have these. I wish I could go back to those times. They're so innocent when you had these thoughts that it didn't matter. You weren't shamed for having the wrong thoughts. Like, no minors allowed in the bar. I thought it meant coal miners. They wouldn't give them a drink. They were dirty. Right. Serial killers. I thought they were down the aisle of the grocery store. I thought it was Captain Crunch or the Lucky Charms guy. They were the serial killers. It was something like I had all these misconceptions, but it didn't matter. And now everything does matter because they'll tweet it out. You're a moron.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Your misconception gets used against you as fodder now. People of a certain age have no idea what it was like in the 70s and 80s prior to cable TV. I mean, you can talk about the internet and all that, but before cable TV, you had 3 major networks. Unless you lived in a big city like Philadelphia, you maybe had some independence or something like that. Did you ever reach out to Mike Douglas and try and get him hooked up with your mom?
Mike Douglas, who was married. I could tell you everyone who was married, by the way, and also baseball cards. I could tell you, I can still to this day tell you that Larry Boa is married to Shayna Boa. So he was off the list of people that I would try to fix up with. All the Phillies I went through. I still have a ruler, this ruler of the Phillies, where I erased them if they were married. So Tim McCarver was a catcher for the Phillies. And I said, Mom, you should meet this guy. I'm a pitcher and he's a catcher. He could teach me how to pitch in the backyard, marry you. She goes, he doesn't want me. And I wrote him a letter. Dear Tim McCarver, here's my mother in her belly dancing outfit picture. And so years later, it tells you how things work in life. I met Joe Buck. He saw my show and he became like a friend and fan. I told Joe Buck that story. He's a longtime partner of Tim McCarver. Next time I see Joe Buck, he hands me a ball signed by Tim McCarver. And it says, dear son, time to grow up. Love, Dad, a.k.a. Tim McCarver. So
yeah.
I'm telling you, sometimes things take time in life. You know, the Grand Canyon wasn't made in a day. So there's a divine plan out there. I never did meet him, though, and he passed away recently. Actually, this is really odd. He passed away within months of my real father
Wow.
passing away. Isn't that crazy? Yeah,
That is
my
great.
almost dad and my
Dream father.
well, both are almost dads.
Well, when you were coming up, though, I mean, going through college and stuff like that, this is a time of explosion for comedy and stand-up.
Yeah.
Did your focus change when you were in college? Because I know that you went for TV and film. Did you see the explosion of stand-up and be like, okay, now I can pursue this, or was that always going to be part of the package for you?
I wasn't quite sure. I thought I would be in broadcasting. I actually wrote that down in ninth grade. I did not write stand-up down. I thought maybe weatherman, or I could be funny. There was a funny weatherman in Philadelphia that I grew up watching. He was amazing. This guy, Jim O'Brien, he passed away in actually a terrible accident, parachuting. And his daughter became famous, actually. His daughter was Roz on the Frasier show. That was his daughter.
Sure.
And he was my idol. I looked like him. I wanted to be him. So very, very funny. He was the first funny weather guy, but he wasn't like wacky weather guy. He was like really smart about it. So I wanted to be like him. And that's kind of the route that I took. But then I started doing stand-up. I worked in a law firm, and I performed in the lunchroom. And then this guy says, "Hey, you want to open for me this weekend or next weekend or whatever it was for his band?" And I went between sets of the band, and I got like maybe a half a laugh, and I was like, it was like crack. I'm into this. So I just stay with it ever since. It put me through college. Actually, comedy put me through college. I even performed at the president's inauguration. The president of the school. I had all these parking tickets. I parked in his spot, by the way, with my ambulance. I had an old Cadillac ambulance. I parked in his spot. And I just did comedy to get rid of the tickets, and I did. I was doing celebrity smoking pot. I was a college guy. That was my material,
right?
You know, I was doing Curly from the Three Stooges on the floor of this guy's black tie affair. You know, I remember seeing their shiny shoes when I was on the floor, writhing around like Curly, going, "Oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And yeah, I mean, comedy's got me through everything, being really resilient in life. I've had a lot of difficulties, obstacles and things that have happened to me, but it all happened for me because here I am, you know, thriving, and I just love life. I mean, I still enjoy making people laugh. I like making people happy. That leads to my happiness. Other people, like I get front row to Lakers and stuff like that. It's bringing people there.
Yeah.
And watching them take this in. It's not about me anymore. That's just the way I'm living my life.
I know that when you see younger kids at your show, fetus, let's say, there are so many different places to go now for them, YouTube, TikTok, all these other digital platforms to start from. But when you started, there weren't a whole lot of paths for someone either to get to being into acting or comedy, celebrity, let's just say. It really was, you start in the clubs, you get 5 minutes, maybe you work on 20, somebody might see you, give you a chance in a national audience, and it grows from there. Do you think it was easier then, harder now, or is it just different?
You know, this is a compliment to you. I've never been asked that question. And I don't even know that I've contemplated. I've certainly seen, I'm trying to kind of catch up with, you know, stay current with not only material, I mean, obviously that, but even how to promote and market. Yeah. And that's been the thing that I don't like the most. When I was younger, I was actually known as being a big marketer. You know, I did it postcards. I would send postcards to fans, and I would get their actual snail mail addresses, put what's called a stamp on this thing. And it is so beyond anyone's scope of reason now that they would think that you would ever do that now.
Right.
And it's so funny. It's how I actually got pretty big at one time. And now to keep up is just because it changes. The paradigm changes almost daily. And we have such a short attention span. I don't even know how people do keep an audience or sustain and scale. It's very, very hard. And what sucks about it this is what I do think from my old school perspective, old fart, is I do think they're missing out now. They're missing out on storytelling. They're missing out on nuance. They're missing out on depth because they're so quick. to go, okay, that's not right, or that's not, I'm not feeling that, or this person's inappropriate, or whatever it is. They don't have any sense of self, and therefore no sense of humor. And the humor is very basic. And I really do enjoy telling a good story. And the audiences are still responding. That's for sure. The ones who show up, they really dig it. And, standing ovations. I'm the only one who gets all these standing ovations and stuff. And I think that they're showing their appreciation for something they're not seeing anymore.
Right.
With a TikTok star who's, crashing a, can on his head or whatever it is. Well, look at this. How many views did it get? So how do the views translate into something that you can really have in your life that's healing, that's energetic, that's beautiful, and it's resonant within your body and your spirit? Where is that? Where is that? So that's, I think, what's missing. And, we were talking about the old television shows. We had very few choices. So it had to be really high quality, like a Mary Tyler Moore. We sat around together as a family and watched Mary Tyler Moore.
Right.
And you with your parents, and you didn't understand certain things. They would laugh and make you laugh, but then you learned how to understand those things. So yesterday, during the big storm of 2023, epic storm, I was actually with my kids, the 9-year-old and the 13-year-old, watching old classics that I watched when I was younger. So we watched the following, and they liked every one of them. Back to the Future 1, Back to the Future 2. They resisted instinctually. They saw the preview for Back to the Future 3 and said no, they wouldn't do that. So we went over to Spaceballs. Oh, and there they are laughing at some sophisticated stuff. And I had to tell them what certain things meant. And they were there, and I love that they were, because now they're off of all their other stuff that they do that's distracting and just not very there's just not a lot of depth.
Yeah, bringing them into that old stuff. Something I read about you, and tell me if this is true. Your first late night experience, was it the Pat Sajak show? Is that true?
Yeah.
The Pat, I mean, that's a moment in time, right? You really talk about, and this is as cable's coming up or whatever, but Pat Sajak, that was your first late night stand.
I don't even think it was a moment in time. It was more of a moment. It was that sure. It was more of a moment in time. So that show was short lived. And if you want to have a successful show, bring me on and I will take that down. Rick Dees was another one I did. I did
his show too.
I was on Magic Johnson. I was his co-host. That didn't last. It was one of the shortest shows in history, next to Chevy Chase. I'm surprised Chevy didn't have me on. So Pat Sajak had me on his show where he was like on fire, with Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
And he had me on. He was a fan or whatever. And I loved doing a late night shot. But here's the thing with late night television, I've done a lot of it. It's not my race. How most people are, look, you're a sprinter or you're a marathoner. I'm a marathoner. Like to really bring people in. Plus, I don't have the kind of look that people go, oh, that's a comedian. I'm not bleeding from the word go. I mean? I'm not a minority. I'm not heavy. You're going, oh, this guy, sold me insurance last week. So, or this guy bowls with my dad, or, one of those things. So I've got to bring them into being funny in a way that has, much more texture to it. And I take them into a story. So if you're reading a book, you don't know what the author looks like.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing is here's chapter 1, here's chapter 2, and each thing leads to the next. So, and the other thing is I like to be irreverent. Obviously television, they're very restrictive on a network television. It's obviously they've stretched that a bit in recent times, but this was 1989, I believe, or 90. Right. The Pat Sajak show. And, they've got standards and practices that are all over you. You can't say certain things. And what's funny about that is, and I actually coach now, I'm doing a lot of coaching, is sometimes you got to do a turnaround. Sometimes you have to ad lib or be spontaneous. And that's where the real creation comes in. Where one time I was about to go on to a television show, Evening at the Improv, it was called. And I saw someone do the same reference on something I talked about sugar. Remember you used to eat cereal, you pile the sugar on layer after layer after layer. You eat some, another layer, right? I don't know if you did that with your sugar, but I piled on sugar on my cereal. And that was the bit was about that. and they get to the bottom, and whatever my reference was at the time, it was the same reference as another comedian used. So you got to be really ready to write.
Yeah.
And I wrote a better term for it. I said that bottom where you get to that glucose quicksand. And I came up with that term on the spot, walking on stage.
Right.
Because I had to adjust. And that's the thing that, again, I don't know that there's a lot of sense of self going on right now, where people are working on themselves to be able to create and tap into their creator that really moves them in certain directions. It's a lot of copying. It's a lot of, okay, what's this going to get me?
Right.
As opposed to how can I share what's going on inside of me with others? So I think there's a perspective there. And I don't know that we'll ever go back. I don't know if there's going to be a retro thing that goes on. You know, I'll be considered retro. So I'll take it. Doesn't matter.
That pendulum always swings one way or another. And you talk about changing. This is not something I had planned, but you had mentioned Paul Lynde before. What kind of full circle moment was it for you when you later end up on Hollywood Squares? How did mom feel about you being center square?
I that's so funny you should say that. It really, and you termed it full circle. It was one of the great moments of my life. I was asked to be on the new Hollywood Squares with Whoopi Goldberg. She asked me, and she's been amazing for me in my career, by the way. One of the very few people in Hollywood that is not a transactional friend. Maybe I am to her because she's gotten me 3 different things where she really, fought for me, and just such a sweetheart. She was the center square, so I couldn't be the center square, but I was on 75 episodes. And my dream was to be the first, me and Paul Lynde, he would adopt me, and we would be the first father and son team on the Hollywood Squares. That was my dream.
Together?
Yeah, in a box together, like Waylon and Madam.
Little turtleneck for you, little gold chain. Nice.
And he's got the ascot. And so my dream was somebody would say, I'd like Craig and Paul Lynde for the win, please. And we'd be in the box going, he'd say, take it, son. It's a sports question. That was my dream. So Whoopi let me go there in the commercial break. She would let me go sit with her. And I would sit on her lap like she was Paul Lynde, and she would do Paul Lynde. It was a full circle. And the only thing is I'm not a big celebrity, so nobody knows me. So I was always Craig Shoemaker to block.
Right.
I was never like the first one. Who are you going to go to? I like Craig Shoemaker to start things off. And, and no, I was always like used for the one time I'm looking at the monitor. I'm like the only way to go. She's like, I'll take Antonio Banderas so, rather than pronounce Shoemaker, which people say Schumacher. But anyway, all these little dreams have happened. And that's what I also coach is, nothing stops me. Nothing, even the modern way of marketing and getting people to go. It's just and difficulties and things like ex-wives and stuff like that. It's just like, just keep getting up, thrive and survive, and keep making people happy around me. It really does lead to such a beautiful feeling inside when there is that connection that takes place. Even today with you. Like, this is one of the starts of my day here. And, I've been up for a little while, but you're like the first, real person besides family that I'm talking to. And you're like laughing and having a good time. You did your research as well, which is really cool. And it's a conversation, and those things, again, a lost art.
Yes.
To have a conversation is not on a text. I just talked to a guy this morning, and he completely misread, and I misread his text. Yeah. Now you're off and running on a whole other thing. And sometimes you can even get rid of people based on one word. I mean, I've had a lot of mistakes I've made too. I mean, I told a guy I was driving, and I shouldn't text, but I said, I'm driving, assuming he won't keep texting me because I'm at the driving range. I'm waiting for you. We have a tea time, all this stuff. And then finally I got back to him. I'm trying to drive while I'm texting, and the L is next to the K, and I have big thumbs. And what it came out was, when I get there, I'm going to lick your ass. And he wasn't there when I got there. I don't know what was up with that.
Didn't take you up on the offer.
Yeah, and I had an office on Via Colinas, was the name of it, right? I swear to you, at least 8 out of 10. I could do it right now on my phone if you want to see it. It came out, I don't know how, vehicle anus. So I've sent people to vehicle anus a number of times. So
I had it happen to me. There was a guy who was, I was getting ready to move. We're selling stuff out from the house. We're moving from the East Coast to Kansas City in a radio job. And so I'm getting rid of the big screen TV. Guy, I sent him a thing. It said, GPS won't get you to the house. Call me. I'll tell you how to get up the driveway.
yeah, exactly.
And so he pulls up and gets out of the car. First of all, I'm regretting this right away. You see the person, you wish someone else is there to see them. You're just like, oh my God. So he says, what did you mean he can't get you here? I said, oh, the GPS, it just drops you off. I explained to him. He's like, I talked to him. He tells me I should not get a tattoo of the Ark of the Covenant on my back. Craig, this is 100% true. My wife is in the house. And this is the moment where you want to go, hey, there's a crazy guy out here. Come here. But you can't. So you just keep having the conversation. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go get the TV, bring it out here. I'm like, just get the guy away. I pick my phone back up and I realized that my phone has autocorrected GPS to God. So he got a text that said, God will not bring you here. And he had some sort of religious moment buying a used TV. That is a true story.
He tells me what to do. I should get a tattoo of the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Is that what but that's hilarious. Wow. Yeah, and it goes to show you, we got to double check things now. And as opposed to a conversation, you very rarely have to go, whoa, let me go back. I made a mistake with my words on that one.
It's why I
it was like
radio. It did it for 30 years and it became shorter and shorter and shorter. And you can't have these conversations. You can't get to know people. It's all broken down. If you're talking more than 2 minutes now, they don't want you to talk. So then everything else is just background noise because everyone else can play the same music if they want. So there's no personality anymore. So why don't we just go do this on our own where I can have good conversations with people I want to talk to?
Yeah. That's what happened with radio, and which I love radio. I've loved radio my entire life, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. And had my own radio show. And how do you stay connected with people now? I mean, it doesn't happen even through podcasts. You don't really stay connected. Some people have live callers and stuff like that, but it's just not the same. It's a daily thing where you know that person's there for you, like a family member. You wake up and go to the morning show, that you pay attention to their bits and their skits, and that connection is just gone. Bean counters took it away. They just took it based on numbers. And now the stats say, when I do interviews on FM radio, they actually say, oh, we only have a minute and a half. I go, what? That's like, hello, Craig. Nice to see you. I mean, it is that. So I have to jam it in, and that's not great for any sort of texture or nuance. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But, look, complaining about it's one thing, we can grouse and all that, but just adjust. And that's what life is. We just have to continually adjust and transform, never stay the same. So it's great to get the challenges. Like I got glucose quicksand as my challenge, it still goes on. And it really, really engages us in a way that I do think there's a lot of mindfulness is really important to me. Again, this is one of the things I teach in the course, is how to be mindful and present, and they'll benefit from it. You benefit a lot from it, much more than just this very temporary fix that you're. And it's a fix, and I'm guilty. Oh my God, I scroll like a madman. Now, unfortunately, it's starting to know me, which is scary. They said, turn off your microphones. You got to turn off. Because it's listening to you. It's listening to me right now, I guess. And suddenly, apparently, they think that I have problems with erections, and I get a lot of.
Well, you're in a certain demographic. Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, and also I do a character, the Lovemaster, talks all about his sexual prowess, and apparently they believe that they should help me, with growth and girth and everything else. So, no, I mean, seriously though, they do have something down where, like, for instance, the coaching, promoting the coaching. Now I've got everyone saying, this is the way to market. This is the way to market. This is the way not to do it. And then I get caught in these things where you're just going, oh, please cut to the end. I like you already. All right, let's get to the sex. So it's like, oh my God, I gotta wait. I don't like foreplay. So I mean, I get stuck in these things, and you can't fast forward. and I get stuck. It's just something that we are, a lot of us, that's what we're about right now. And I hope that people see more comedy and just dial that up again. You know, there is a boom though. I will tell you, I'm going to Naples.
Yes.
The guy says, I sold out on a Tuesday night the last time. Hey man, sold out on a Tuesday night. I was like, check this out. He goes, yeah, don't get high on yourself. We sell that every night. We had to add Mondays. So I was like, okay. I guess that my little sellout means nothing, because that's, yeah, I guess you could put anybody up there. But I'm going back again. I'm going back then. I'm going to, where am I going? Tampa coming up.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
We're on the east side of Florida. So we're Daytona Beach area. And actually, I wanted to ask you about the new stuff now, because I'm a guy that every morning when I wake up, one thing I force myself to do is I read a Tao meditation every day. Just force myself to take in that page and really trying to absorb it. Your latest, stuck somewhere between namaste and kiss my ass. 48 years old a few weeks ago. I totally relate. And it's great now that you're able to be back out on the road and start sharing these stories with people. Before I let you go, I do want to ask you, you mentioned before the Lovemaster. Who inspired him?
Well, that's inspired by, I could give you the secret of who the voice is. You would know both of these people, and some people, not, especially the singer. The voice. Oh, I'll tell you how I was inspired. When I was a kid, I was a geek, which if you're doing this for a living, you were too. So just assuming.
You think?
I was 5'1", 92 pounds in high school. I mean, I'm a big guy now and everything, so people find it hard to believe, but I was a major geek, high voiced, last one at puberty. And the girls would use the F word, friend. I was the friend. I invented friend zone. I was friend home. It was, girls pee together, the posse pee, when they all have to go together to the bathroom at the same time. They took me with them. That's what a geek I was. So they'd say, oh, and they'd talk about these guys all the time. And it was always like badass guys. That's who they wanted. And I'm thinking, what about me? And I'm going, I could be a badass. I'm the Lovemaster, baby. Oh, yeah, that's right, baby. I love you so good. Your neighbor will have a smoke, baby. Come on now. 6 feet, social distance, 6 feet. That's just the tip. So anyway, one of my pandemic lines. So the Lovemaster was born out of, again, necessity, and made a career out of this guy that more people remembered that than my name. People have a hard time remembering Craig Shoemaker for some reason. They think it's Shoemaker and everything. I'm like, you make shoes, you don't mock shoes, okay? Unless they're Crocs, those you can mock. No problem. Holes, you know what they're for, so your self-esteem can slip out. Anyway, the Lovemaster was born out of necessity, because these girls would tell me, basically, I want a badass. I want a guy who's sure of himself, that's just walking around literally leading with, So, but the voice, not many people know this, but it's a combination of Lou Rawls, a singer my uncle used to love, and Tommy Lee Jones. U.S. Marshals. Like, all right, we're going to search every outhouse, whorehouse, and we're looking for Dr. Richard Kimball. I'm the Lovemaster, baby. Lou Rawls. Baby love, you've been with me through all of my ups and downs. When you say Budweiser, you said it all. So that's the Lovemaster, baby. Yeah. So
all
there
right,
you go.
Before I let you go, last one, and I appreciate you mentioning the classes, Winning with Humor. If people want to find out more information, they can go to craigshoemaker.com. You've got your tour schedule on there, the Winning with Humor classes. That is something that anyone can take, whether you're in comedy or whatever you're doing in life, whether you're in business. It's for yourself, like you said, how you get to know yourself and share yourself better.
Yeah, it's something people don't realize, that humor and laughter is the greatest joy of all. It's the greatest medicine. It solves so many issues that we have mentally, spiritually, emotionally. If you make people laugh, or you laugh with people, period, everything is uplifted. The whole vibration gets uplifted. Problems are solved. Laughter is so great, except what's happening, though, is what's happened for eternity is the people in charge who want you to be a follower. They're like anti-comedy. That's why they try to cancel comedians, because we tell the truth. They are not interested in that. One of the things, one of the course chapters is truth. Truth is funny. and tell the truth to people and experience this truth with one another. And the truth does set you free. And we are not free now. We're not, when you're following statistics that corporations put up there for their own agenda, you're a follower. You're not telling the truth. So that's why I love teaching this. And our courses, we're midstream right now, but I also do one-on-ones, which I love. I talked to a client this morning. I have a couple that I have on retainer, where this guy's in real estate, and another guy actually in Florida. He's the #1 mortgage guy in Florida. And one of the reasons is he makes people laugh now. His presentations are funny, and they want to go back to this guy. I was there for his debut a couple of years ago. I went and I flew in. I'm so proud of him. He came out dancing a really bad dance, and people knew this is not the same Matt.
Right.
And they loved it. And that's who they respond to now. Now, everybody has stats and everybody has all those, put a Post-it note on your mirror and all that and all the affirmations. That's fine. I do laffirmations. And I take people, you talk about meditation, through guided laughitation. And laughitation shifts you into a whole other realm of being, of consciousness, mindfulness, presence. That's what it does. It gets rid of all the fears.
Yeah.
And the fears are killing us.
Yeah, that's a breakdown of those walls. Getting rid of those fears. Those fears are the walls. And if you can break those down and be able to get communication between a total stranger, someone you've never met, and yet you can bring a smile to their face, what that brings to your heart then amplifies even more.
Good. You should be my co-host.
I'm down for it, Craig. Look, I would love to have you back anytime. I know you're busy this morning and I need to let you go. But again, thank you so much for making time for GenX.fm. And again, I would love to catch up again very, very soon. Best of luck when you come down to Florida. And again, stuck between Namaste and Kiss My Ass. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you do get it. I love that you get it. And stay in touch, okay? You got my information. And, we'll hang and let's try to get me booked in Daytona or wherever.
I've got who's the one club here?
I've never been there, but
Bonkers has a location over here. I could reach out. Absolutely.
Yeah, please do tell them I'm interested. I'd love to go there. It's the only market in Florida I have not played. I've played all over Florida. I've not been there. Daytona, which is really weird. The only time I was there was I was passing through on my way back to Philadelphia from Southern Florida on spring break. And we met 3 girls. I'll never forget it. 3 girls. And I had a friend who was sunburned and very pale, but he's a sunburned guy, right? He's very small and she was really big. And we were with the 2 hotties and she was with him and she hugs him and he was lost in her bosoms. And she goes, "Get I will never forget this. I still say it to him. "Get over here, you little red Casper." She called him Little Red Casper. And he's inside of these big boobs, just laughing, and you hear him go smothered. He's laughing. "Come here, you Little Red Casper." That's my only time in Daytona.
Thank you. I really appreciate the laugh today and just hanging out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Laugh on, everybody.
All right. Take care.